Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm just wonderful, but I got to get something straight here, okay?
Okay.
I got to fix that little hair. Okay. Got a new song.
Okay.
All right. And I want to point people, and you're going to know the song when I sing, because I only know one line. All right. And apparently we're supposed to tell a story about this song. And I hope that you know the story. This is an unorthodox way to start the podcast this week. But by God, we're gonna do it. Okay.
I'm ready.
Sometimes Jimmy Jam came along. Those were the best days. Out there gone. So that's for Freebird Road. Okay.
Yeah.
You know Freebird Road, right?
Yes, I do.
Freebird Road.
Yes.
It's Michael Hayes' ode and love song to Terry Garvin, and pretty much Buddy now as well. And very emotional song. But the only line that I know is sometimes Jimmy Jam came along. Those were the best days. Now they're gone. So I encourage everybody that has not seen this video.
Oh, the video is the best part. Yes, for sure.
And I heard this song. Go to YouTube and look up Freebird Road. Now, this is a remake of the Leonard Skinner Brickyard Road.
I thought it was the end of the road or something like that.
I think he said Brickyard Road.
Okay.
I don't know.
All
I could be wrong. I'm not going to die on that hill but people may watch it and go, "Oh, what the fuck?" But you got to understand. You got to understand the genuine love and the genuine passion from Michael Hayes and the work that he did and the amount of red tape that he had to go through. And Ronnie Van Zant, thank you to him, for helping Michael get that, be able to do it with their music, with their song, and be able to change it to pay tribute to the Freebirds. And it's cool. Check it out. Sometimes Jimmy Jam came along. Those were the best days. Now they're gone.
We'll have a link in the description for today's show, so you can actually go right to YouTube and watch Freebird Road.
I was on a 75-hour flight with Michael.
Yes, you were.
To and from Saudi Arabia. And we were sitting in close proximity to each other. And every time I would look and see Michael almost dozing off, I was like, sometimes Jimmy Jam came along. Those were the best days. Now they're gone. And yeah. So I told him, I said, listen, man, I'm going to get you at least 6 or 7 views.
No problem.
On YouTube to get there, man. So I want our entire audience, all 6 or 7 of you, to go and watch Freebird Road and give it a like, man. And tell them Bruce sent you, by God, because I just want to do that because I love that song. And one day I'll learn more of it. But that's just the funniest part of the song to me.
Well, because sometimes, as you know, Jimmy Jam came along.
Yeah.
We're having a good time today on the show because we're going to get to bounce all over the place. We're doing what we call Ask Bruce Anything, and we solicited your questions on social media and certainly over on YouTube. If you haven't already, I encourage you to check out somethingtowrestle.com. It is your home for all things Bruce Prichard. It's completely free. It is indeed our YouTube. It's one thing to hear the show. It's another to see it. We've got some fun visual aids for you and things like that. And,
you got aids?
Yeah, we got tons of them over at somethingtowrestle.com, including the subscribe button and the notifications bell. So you want to make sure that you hit both of those so you'll know when we've got a new video for you. Let's jump right into it. Handlebar Mustache wants to say.
But can I ask a question first?
Sure.
Ask anything?
Yeah, let's do it.
Where's Dave Silva? He left. He left us, right?
No, he's still with us. He's the man behind the curtain pressing the buttons today. But yes,
he's not with you anymore. He's not in.
He never was. Anymore. No, even when he lived in my town, he wouldn't actually fellowship with me. So we're going to see each other in real life now as much as we did He actually insists we'll see each other more now that he's in San Antonio and I'm in Gunnersville. He thinks we'll see each other more, and I just don't know if that's true.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Because I mean, so I'm on here. I said, you're in like he's like in a laundry room. Right?
Well, he's at his in-laws. You know, they're shipping his stuff. He beat his stuff out there.
Okay.
So I think he's got like another 5 or 6 days where he's
In the
just
laundry
sort of
room.
hanging out
Hey,
with
Dave, come on here for a sec.
live from the laundry room in San Antonio, Texas,
So
ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dave Silva.
let me ask you a question. Are they making you see? You guys thought I was kidding. He's in the laundry room, man.
Yeah, well, listen, man, he's got 4 children and a wife, and and that's a lot to be a house guest in somebody else's house. I mean,
Are they making you do the laundry while you're there?
I gotta earn my wage. I gotta earn my keep. There's no freebies in this house.
Okay, it was shocking when you came on earlier, and I was like, "Where are you?" And
Yeah.
I was just telling you, it's hard to shock me, but yet you did.
if
I
we
So
got
you're back in
bad.
Texas now.
Yeah, I'm back in Texas.
You know what? I'm just asking all the questions for the show. Bruce asks us anything.
I'm sure the listeners are just dying to know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Conrad's in a new pad. I'm in my old cave here. Okay, get off, Dave.
Okay, bye.
Conrad, you're in a new pad now. Look at you, all like fancy. You got like the wood burning fireplace, probably electric, probably one of them fancy ones. You just mash a button on the wall. So I got to go out and get the wood. First of all, I got to chop down the trees by myself, and then I split them, and then I season them. Then I put them in the little. I got like a little wood rack out on the indoor outdoor deck, and then I got to bring the wood in, and I got to crumble up the paper and put kindling in there and light it and get it going before I get a fire. That one, I bet you just mash a button, right?
if your house only had fireplaces running after you chopped the trees and did all that, there'd be no fires at your home address ever. There might be one, and that'd be it.
Listen, I pay Carlos very well, so it's like I do it.
Okay, all right. And we're rounding up a little bit. I got you.
Yeah,
I understand.
but without me, none of it would happen.
I'm not arguing that at all.
I burn my own wood, man. I'm resourceful. I cut down my own trees and I chop them and season them and put them in my little wood rack over there. Well, you say is I carry the shit into the house. I got like a little wood carrier, little canvas thing.
It's not technically a lie. What you're saying is not technically a lie.
Not a single thing I've said is a lie.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm supporting you.
And I crumble up the paper. Here's the key. Okay,
Folks, we are going to talk about wrestling eventually. If you'll just stay tuned, we'll get there.
Yeah, because Conrad doesn't do this because he just smashes the button. Is you got to crumple the newspaper loosely. There's air in there, and then light it, and that'll get the fire going a whole lot quicker. That's a pro tip. Okay, a good looking place you got there. What's to the right of you?
That way?
Yeah, does that go out to the lake?
No, that does. So that's the lake right there, and then that's.
Can we see it?
That's the front door.
Can we see the lake if you were to be that way?
Yeah, I guess. That's it right there.
Oh, look at that. There's the lake right there.
Yeah.
Oh, and you got a triple tune boat. That's 3 pontoons for those of you that don't know. Most people only have 2 pontoon boats. He's got 3 pontoons on his boat. All right. Now, again, not a lot of people have seen that, but then again, everybody never been on a fucking 6,000 square foot boat. He's got 3 pontoons on his.
It's boat. A 25-foot tritoon. That's not that uncommon.
Tritoon, yeah,
yes.
Yeah, 2,500 feet, man, right there.
No, 25 feet
on Lake Thompson.
If you're gonna,
it's the Thompson Lake, you probably heard of it there.
It's not.
Conrad.
Here's what you will like. The lake is 69.
Camp Conrad is where you are right now.
Camp Conrad.
Camp Conrad, okay? Like they have Camp David and shit. You've got Camp Conrad with the triple tune boat. And that's 3 tunes upon right there on the boat. And what does it do? Like 300 miles an hour on that lake?
No.
And the fish, so like this boat, like the fish just come into it.
No, there better
They're
not
like,
be any
jump
fish on
into the
that
boat.
boat. No, no fish on my boat.
Oh,
The tri-tune we're not fishing
that's just
on.
for the regular tune boat.
There you go. But we're not going to fish on that boat.
Why not?
Well, it's more of a sporting boat. It's like 450
Oh,
horsepower. So it's the go fast boat.
but you got the fishing boat.
No, I have a huge dock that we fish off.
Is that a
of
rowboat? You got like a rowboat though?
No, I do have a jet boat at a different house, but I don't like the.
Oh, wow.
It's old school and it's kind of silly. Just came with the house.
Well, I'm gonna be quiet now because I only got one house. I ain't. I got a dog in the backyard.
Yeah, but is the dog cutting down the trees right now?
No, she's eating my shoes. I had to have a talk with her last. She was sorry.
Is this Bean?
Yeah, yeah, we had to have a serious talk last night. She said she was sorry, and she just said that if I would get her own shoes to play with, she wouldn't have to play with mine.
That's a fair point.
So,
And at your income level, you can swing that.
yeah, I just go down to the Goodwill.
But you got dog shoe money. Everybody knows that about you.
Yeah.
People are talking. Everybody's been saying
you pair for $1 down there.
Buy one, get one free on dog shoes. You buy the left one, they throw the right one in.
Oh, hell. I usually get 2 lefts.
Well,
Cheaper that way.
I get that. That's why your dog walks a little funny. People have been saying the dog was walking funny for different reasons, but now we know.
She's a good girl.
She's got 2
the
left
best puppy
feet.
dog in the world.
Can we talk?
She's the new official dog. Something to wrestle with. Bruce Prichard, I got. Bean. Bean's her name. Right there on her collar. Bean.
You think we're ever going to be allowed to talk about wrestling stuff at all?
I don't know. I mean, all right. People are interested. The people are interested. I saw some of the questions.
Hey, listen, since a few of you haven't tuned out yet and given up and thrown in the white towel, let us sell you some stuff right fast. No, we're just kidding. Hey, Handlebar Mustache wants to know. We hear stories about wrestlers who weren't successful because they just couldn't handle a travel schedule. Are there guys who actually really enjoy the constant traveling? And what do they do differently? Hey, we've always heard that that's really the challenging part is the travel. Are there guys who were sort of road warriors? They live to be on the road. They love it.
A lot of guys. Tons of people. It's a way of life. And I think that when you have the attitude of I'm going to enjoy what I do and not just bitch and moan about the negative parts of it, then yeah, you make it fun. You go out and you almost make a game out of where's the gym, where's the best place to eat, where is this in proximity to where I'm staying and or the building which I'm working in that night. So a lot of guys do love it. Personally, me, I hate it. I've gotten very spoiled in my old age, but even when you get away from it and then you come back to it, holy cow, man, it can be a little difficult. I'm not one. I don't like packing and unpacking. Don't like hotels. So there are people that just hate that part of it. But then again, there's people that love going out and seeing the country. And there's people here is a great example is John Layfield. John Layfield, wherever he went, made the most out of wherever he was. So he goes to Kentucky, he goes to see Noah's Ark. He goes to Egypt, he goes and sees the pyramid. John, wouldn't sit dormant. Dusty and I went to Alaska and pulling in. We're gonna fit out. We're gonna get we're gonna get in one of them rooms that had like a little porch and some rocking chair, sip a beer. Look at the polar bears come up and eating the fish and shit. Don't worry, they ain't gonna fuck with you because they know if you're on that porch, you're okay. You ain't food. And just to go do shit. Now, if all you do is get to wherever it is you're going, sit in your hotel room, well, that's boring as hell. So get out and go do things. But some guys don't want to get out and go do things. And you guys want to go to the gym and go find a different place to eat. So every time you're there, it's like, oh, hey, this is the place where they have that thing that stuff like that. So yeah, there are definitely guys that love to travel, and it becomes a part of your life. It really does. It's just it's a different way of living your life.
West Britannicus 7436 says, "What's your biggest regret with creative, and why is it undervaluing Diamond Dallas Page in 1991? Or I'm sorry, 2001?" Listen, I know he's having a little fun with that, and you've certainly shared your opinions about DDP, but in an alternate universe, there probably could have been some different creative for Dallas that may have worked better, right?
Sure, there's also creative that probably could have worked worse.
Yeah.
So, creative is subjective. I have no regrets. I think the only regrets are, and I've said this many times, is a lot of times not being able to see something out all the way through and not given the opportunity to fail. I think that sometimes there would be a tendency to cut something off because it wasn't working and not have the opportunity to redirect, see if it could work in the end. When you have an end goal and you have something you want to get to, that's just not going to work. Um, well, let's try it. Let's go ahead and shit the bed and see if it doesn't work, or maybe it does. Maybe just this part here didn't work. Um, so that's probably the only regret. But again, creative subjective, and the the same things you love come from the same people that of the things that you hate. So get over it.
Do you, I mean, you said sometimes you wouldn't be allowed to fail. Was that just a Vince thing or the old structure thing, or but what changed in that regard? Because you said that sort of past tense,
Well, it's I think that in an older regime, there was a feeling of if something wasn't working, abort right there. Um, that if it wasn't working, then that if everything in it didn't work, you needed to just kill it.
right?
Sorry. Um, and I just I'm of the belief that while one turn along the way, maybe a wrong turn, you can always get back on the road and
Right.
your destination. So that's all.
Let's talk about another destination that we never saw. Calvin Austin wants to know: Was the Great Muta ever of any interest to the WWE or WWF at any time? Man, I could have totally seen the Great Muta being a big star in the WWF. Did it ever come close?
No. Look, Pat Patterson and I went to New Haven. Went to New Haven when WCW or NWA, whatever the hell they were at the time, came in. Muta was there with Gary Hart. We went back and said hello to everybody, and actually tried to talk to Muta, and just nothing more than hello, how are you? And it wasn't like, oh, we're going into um, to poach their talent, anything like that. We were just going in to see the boys and say hello, but wanted to introduce ourselves to Muta because neither one of us knew Muta at the time. And went over, and Muta was running the steps backstage, and waited until he was finished, then went over to introduce herself. And Gary Hart, to his credit, Gary was right there. Gary, you know, uh, wasn't going to let anybody get too close to Muta. And Muta gave us the no English thing. And, Gary came over and said hello. We talked to Gary for a little bit, and he kind of shooed Muta off on his way. That was it. I mean, that was it. It was, there was a language barrier there. So it was somewhat difficult. You kind of would have had to go through Gary, and there was no interest in Gary, especially at that time. Gary had already been up and had a meeting with Vince and Pat for a cup of coffee, and there was no interest there. So, yeah, man, we went to say hello, and again, he was under contract and just never happened.
Why didn't you think there was interest in Gary? Was it just a personality issue, a philosophical issue? Or was Vince just not a fan of his work?
Not a fan.
Okay.
Just not a fan. I think it was more of a personality thing in the meeting.
Yeah. Can you give us any context? I know you weren't there, but if you had to freestyle why you think his personality didn't mesh with Vince's, what would it be about their personalities that didn't mix?
It's a different world, and Gary was used to being in a world in which the booker was in control of everything and made every call and made every decision. In this environment, that wasn't the case. You know, there was only one booker, and he made all the decisions, but he had help all around him. And I think that Gary was looking more for, I want to be the boss, which is cool. That's fine, man. There were plenty of places that would employ him to do just that. Or Gary wanted to be a performer. But I don't think that it was, anything more than that. I think it was just people had different designs on their careers than the other person.
Trevor A. Williams says on February 2003, as Brother Love, you came out of a box on SmackDown as a part of the
God damn, I was
Undertaker.
instantly over if you come out of a box, by God.
That's what he was asking. Were you channeling anyone who comes out of a box as over? I mean, that was really one of the first times that this big joke was brought back to life, right?
Oh my God. Yeah, you goddamn come out of a box, you're over, motherfucker. Um, Let me tell you about being in a box, man. They put me in a giant box, okay, because I'm a giant man. So they put me in this giant box, and it's attached to a crane. And they had to bring the box up with me in it. And then they had to bring this crane and bring the crane over the audience and over the ropes, set down into the ring. And it's pitch black in the box. And I'm terrified of heights. And this box is not the most secure thing in the world. Now, granted, inside I'm in a basket, so I know it's secure. I know it's safe. But I'm still terrified because you can't see anything. And you could just hear it. You could kind of feel, and it's shaking, waving, doing this shit, and just kind of, back and forth in the wind. And I had brought notes so I could just look at my shit beforehand because I'm nervous. I wasn't nervous about doing that. I was nervous about being in the box and flying over the audience and into the ring. I was. Yeah. Now I always get nervous before I go out, no matter what. See me in live shows that I'm hyped up. Man, I got that butterflies in the pit of your stomach, no matter what I do, no matter what it is. I'm nervous before I go out. If I go speak in front of my kids' assemblies, I was nervous. It's just what you do. 'Cause you're thinking about what you're going to say, what you're going to do when you're out there. And so I'm flying in this box and it's black, and I got my notes, and I realized, well, but I've got nowhere to throw them either because it's a big empty box. I don't know if they're going to shoot inside and go, oh, hey, what's that on the ground? Um, so yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. But by God, when I came out, I was over like Rhoda.
Tad
Yeah, and I
Brown.
dare say I got up for that choke slam pretty damn good too. If you guys want to go back and watch that with Undertaker, I got up for a big fat guy who
Teresa
hadn't bumped in like 5 years.
Teresa MC wants to know, do you think we'll ever see a Brother Love appearance again?
You never say never, but I don't see it in my future.
Tad Brown.
Huh?
Tad Brown says, when booking a venue, how long do you book it for, considering setup, tear up, walkthroughs, etc.? How long for a Raw versus a Backlash versus a WrestleMania? Is it about? I mean, I know WrestleMania is a much different opportunity, and well, any stadium show is, but for a typical arena show, what do you think that looks like as far as when you guys are unloading to when you're pulling out?
We're in and out, man. We are in and out for a regular live event. You're in the afternoon, and you're out by 2 a.m. For television, you're in early in the morning, and you're out early in the next morning. So it's 24 hours easy. Now for a stadium show, see what you have to understand for a stadium show is that we've got to build a lot of structure
Yes.
in stadiums. If most stadiums, like a domed stadium, a lot of them don't have the foundation. They don't have the structure, load bearing structure that we need to hang things, to put lights up, put all of the videos and everything that we put up. So that's a good week-long process, coming in, and probably about 3 or 4 days coming out. But you got to build a lot, and for example, still even to this day, you look at a place like Saudi Arabia in the Jeddah Dome. It's a building that was built. It's a huge, big, beautiful dome, but that's it. That's it. There are no dressing rooms. There are no bathrooms. There are nothing. And all that has to come in and be assembled before we come in to play the show. So it's crazy. Some of them in Orlando stadium that we did there, man, they had no backstage. They had two locker rooms. That's it. Small locker rooms for when you think about it, for a college football team, which is what it was used for. They had no infrastructure. They had nothing backstage. They had no offices, no star dressing rooms, no bathroom. So we would literally build a city off of that would have dressing rooms, showers, bathrooms, offices, everything kind of off to the side, off in the parking lot. So yeah, it really depends on the venue.
Uh, Rob Dog says, did Vince solely go on the word of people like you and JR and Howard when bringing talent in, or would he do some video scouting as well?
Well, Rob Dog, it really depended. I think that you know, there were guys that came in sight unseen sometimes, based strictly on reputation. Um, but for the most part, he would usually have seen something on them. And whether we showed him tapes, we showed him pictures, but I think the um, original would come from us usually. Okay.
Michael wants to know, do more crazy stories from back in the day while on the road, like crazy hotel stories or crazy truck stop stories, or at least give us a good story about Percy Pringle or maybe an Owen prank, and keep up the good work. We've spent some time talking about some Owen pranks over the years. We haven't spent a ton of time on Percy Pringle stories. You got any fun travel stories with him? Maybe at a hotel or a truck stop, or just any fun road
I
stories with
tell you,
Percy?
and I don't think I've told this one before, but there was the famous hotel in Chicago was called the Air Host. All right, right off the highway. Everybody stayed there for years and years and years because it was cheap. So the boys stayed. And I'm talking now. I'm going back many generations. I'm going back into the '60s and '70s here. And Bobby Heenan and Jack Lanza, Pat Patterson, um, guys from the Burn territory would always tell these legendary stories about air host. One night, driving and going by, and uh, had infamously had Lisa Wolf with us, the HR dragon bitch. Um, and like, that's the air host. I had never been to the air host. So we stopped and went to the air host. And Lanza came, Bobby came, everybody came. And when we're there, I mean, it is. They have a bar. Okay. So that's a plus.
Yep.
Okay. They had cold beer, another plus. That's kind of where the pluses ended. Now, Bobby starts telling a story. And he says, Pat, you remember the time that we stayed here and the room was so disgusting? And they started to laugh and they said, let's take the mattress and box springs off. We'll take a shit underneath the bed. Leave it there. Nobody will be able to tell the difference because this room is so disgusting. It stinks so bad. And they pull the mattress off and they pull the box springs off. And Bobby's ready to take a shit. And they look. Already. So that was the wonderful air host story. I remember Howard Finkel for a run. Howard was in charge of, by God, saving the company money. And Howard was going to do all of our travel for television. Howard starts booking these hotels and stuff, and he would, by God, he would wrangle for the best deal he could get. So we're going and checking into some places that are like $16 a night. The first one was in Birmingham, Alabama. And I was coming from Houston. So I fly into Birmingham. Where the hell am I? The Night's Inn.
Oh,
What the hell is this?
Not good.
I get to this hotel. It's a motel, not a hotel. So for those of you that don't know the difference, a motel is you drive your car right up to the room.
And it's an
It's not
exterior door.
Yes. You don't go into a lobby and then go up an elevator or your rooms aren't inside. It's next to your door. Park right in front of it. I go to the old Night's Inn and open the door. $16 a night. And they had purple shag carpeting. This point in my life, I hadn't seen shag carpeting since my mother put it in our house when I was like 8 years. Shag carpeting, motel. The TV's on. And the TV is basically a documentary on the story of the Knights Inn and how the Knights Inns came about and how they're built. And they're all prefab. So they can get land and they can pour the slab and they can have a Knights Inn hotel completely delivered and have it up inside of 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because once they put it in, all they do is hook up plumbing and electricity and everything, and it's good to go because everything's pre-made. The room is prefab all the way into the shower, everything. Just boom, they put it down, and they hook up the water, they hook up the electricity, and hook some switches. Boom, you're ready. You got a ready-made hotel. Bring in the furniture, you're good to go. And on the wall, and I'll get to the other one in a second, was like a moat, like the outside of a castle. And it was the most disgusting thing that I'd ever stayed in. I remember calling Ben. And he goes, "How'd Howard do?" I said, "Well, do you like shag carpet?" "What? You like shag carpet?" "Shag carpet? What are you talking about?" I said, "Yeah, I got purple shag carpeting in this thing." And once Vince Pat got there, I think we stayed there about another 5 minutes and got out and checked into a Hilton somewhere. It was disgusting. It was almost as good as, and I don't mean to disparage. I'm sure they're nice. No, they're not. Shit. But same thing with Excalibur in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Howard used to vacation by himself, he would save up all of his miles every year, and then he would go take a vacation by himself somewhere, usually Las Vegas. And he would go to Vegas and gamble and eat at the buffets. But his gimmick was how little he could pay for anything. So he would schedule this so the flight was free from Miles. The hotel was usually free and or absolutely nothing. Um, and then he would go and he would stay there and gamble and do his thing. So he does this and he stays at the Excalibur. And this is when the Excalibur was brand new. He booked everyone at the Excalibur. I think this one was like maybe $16, maybe $19. I don't know what it was. But we waited 2 hours in line. We get to our room and it had the same motif on the walls as the Knight's Inn, like a castle on the wall. Didn't have shag carpeting, but it was disgusting. Called for room service, and all they really had for room service was hot dogs, pizzas, beer, and soda. Needless to say, we stayed there roughly about 20 minutes and then went and checked in at Caesar's. And Howard was heartbroken. And it was after that the Excalibur that Howard was removed from his duties of getting hotels for TV. Yeah, but I've stayed in some disgusting places. Stayed in some nice ones too, but yeah, so some disgusting places.
All right, so those weren't maybe your best memories, but some of my best memories growing up, believe it or not, were watching the Braves. I'll never forget as a kid when they went from worst to first, and it became a whole mission of mine. Hey, I want to go to a Braves game. And then when it finally happened, I got to go with my dad and my grandfather. Man, that really is America's pastime. And what keeps baseball fun for me these days are our friends at Game Time. You see, the Game Time app is really an absolute game changer when it comes to getting tickets for anything, not just Major League Baseball, which Game Time, of course, is the authorized ticket marketplace for MLB. But here's what's great: they make getting tickets faster and easier. You see, prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to the first pitch. They've got killer last minute deals. You can actually check out the all in prices. You don't agree and then, wow, what are all these fees? You even get to see what the view is going to be like from your seat. But maybe my favorite part about Game Time is the lowest price Game Time guarantee. They really take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Again, not just for baseball, but anything else. Seriously, you want to talk about last minute deals? What about saving up to 60%? I almost said 20%. You can save up to 60% when you're buying last minute tickets for sports or concerts or comedy or theater. They've even got flash deals, so you'll get exclusive in-app deals on select seats. They've got zone deals where you can save even more when you choose a section and just let Game Time pick the seat for you. But there's no bait and switch here, man. You're going to see all-in pricing right up front. No surprise fees at checkout. And you actually get that seat view. We mentioned it a moment ago. You get a real panoramic view. What's it going to look like when I sit right here? Sometimes that's hard to see when you're just looking at a seat map. But the lowest price guarantee, check this out. They'll credit you 110% of the difference. If you find a cheaper ticket in the same row, in the same section, they're going to credit you not just the difference, 110% of the difference. They've got you covered, man. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. I'm a big believer in Game Time. I've used this for sports tickets, for comedy tickets, for concert tickets, and you can do it right now because they've taken the guesswork out of MLB tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and man, use our code WRESTLE. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code WRESTLE. You know how to spell that. That's WRESTLE. You'll get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, Lowest price guaranteed. Bruce, let's do another question here. This one comes to us from Stinky Pinky. I have a serious question for Bruce. Bruce, was it all worth it? Missed holidays, the little family moments you can never get back that you missed. Was it worth it? If given the ultimatum, would you have walked away from pro wrestling? One of our first questions was about the travel. Man, Stinky Pinky just bringing the heat here. When you think about all the things you had to sacrifice personally through the years for wrestling, was it worth it?
Yes, every second of it was. You have to understand, from the time I was 4 years old, I wanted to do one thing, and that was from the time I was 4 years old to current day. Everything that I did was about this business. So, um, I love my family without a doubt, and I did miss some important days. I my wedding anniversary is April 3rd. You know why? Because we were on the West Coast in LA for WrestleMania 12, and that was a short little jaunt to Las Vegas. So we could say I do, she do, we do, and then head on over to Hong Kong for our honeymoon. That was around the business. It's also easy to remember my anniversary because I go back and look at WrestleMania 12. Oh, God, I've been married 27 years. What the hell? Um, so so to that point is that I've missed a lot of wedding anniversaries because it was around, and I knew it when I did it. Like, hey, this can be hard to celebrate all these anniversaries on this day because WrestleMania is going to be around and stuff. The Was it worth it? Yeah, it was worth it because I love what I do. I don't have a job, and I still get to spend quality time with my family, and it's different. Do I wish I could have been to some of the things that I miss, some birthdays and things like that? Sure, of course I do. But you can't live in regret. And I was fortunate for being fired through 10 years of high school and middle school football, wrestling, soccer, and all of that, that I was there. So I did get to experience a lot of that. And I had a schedule that allowed me to do that. And I also kind of put my foot down to where it was like, I'm making these. I'm going, the kids have a soccer game. This I'm going. Amber's got wrestling. Amber's in state. I'm going. Um, Gaines got a football game. I'm going. So I reached the point where I was able to do that. And so yeah, no, I don't. I don't. Yes, I miss some things, but I also this is my life. This is my love as well, and my family understands it.
Retro Sports Vision wants to know, Bruce, do you have any Ronnie P. Gossett stories? Is it true he was the original choice to manage Jeff Jarrett in his run in '93?
Completely false. That was Jerry Jarrett's again. Well, Jerry Jarrett can put some shit out there. Um, Jerry Jarrett wanted Jeff to have an entourage. Wherever Jeff goes, he should have an entourage. And the first vignettes that we did use Ronnie. That we used Ronnie, Frank Morrell. I think we used Miss Jackie. Uh, but that was those were introduction vignettes, so we used them for some things. And yes, Jerry Jarrett very badly wanted to have an entourage around Jeff, but that was never in consideration. And you put an entourage around him, I don't think that he would have gotten over the way that he did initially. So, um, no, that would be completely incorrect. And that was really the only time that I ever spent with Ronnie Gossett. Ronnie was a bit of a character, but yeah, I didn't spend a whole lot of time around Ronnie Gossett.
Jake A3398 says, "Do you know exactly how much or what part was amputated from Kerry Von Erich's foot/leg, and how in the world did he manage to move that well in the ring after that?" Bruce, we got this question because a lot of people weren't really sure what that looked like, but there was a visual representation of that in the movie The Iron Claw, and so that created a lot of other further conversation about was that accurate. I don't know how many people can even honestly answer that. Do you have
Right.
any insider information?
So it was my understanding. See if I that it was right at about here. So this, I think that he still had his heel, and so he had special boots made so that pretty much his foot could go in. And he had a prosthetic foot, into the shoe and everything that he would attach everything to. Incredible how he could walk around and do the things that he did in the ring. It was absolutely incredible. I never saw it. So to say to you that no, this is exactly it. I do know it was not as high as they portrayed in the movie. It was into his heel. I want to say like his foot was cut off. So if you were to, but I never saw it, and I know that he had a prosthetic. I saw the prosthetic. Saw the shoe. Never saw him put it on. Nah, I guess not true. I did see him put on his shoes and on his boots, but it was covered up like with a sock. So, but it was not like it was in the movie.
Dale Thomas says, "I've always been curious about the original plans for Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez match at SummerSlam 93. A new match type was being hyped on television leading up to the pay per view, but it ended up just being a no disqualification, no count out match. Was there originally a different concept in mind, like perhaps a buried alive match that had to be changed due to some logistical issue? Would love to hear your insights on this." Well, that's an excellent question, one that I'm not familiar with at all. So I'm fascinated by this. Do you remember, was there another type of gimmick match that was originally discussed that you guys had to can?
No, we were just hoping for a good match, which didn't happen. No, it was their first encounter. So that's your freebie. You get the first one, then you can get to a gimmick match, hopefully. But first one was so bad that I didn't want to be killed. Um, you have a giant in Giant Gonzalez, damn near 8 feet tall, and an Undertaker. You can get one out of that. Come on. And beyond that, no, there were no other stipulations put on that. The reason it was no disqualification so they could just do more stuff and disguise the inabilities of Jorge.
Chad Cloud says, if you could go back, would you keep the invasion angle the same or change it? And if you would change it, what would you change?
What invasion?
You know,
The
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 WCW.
WCW one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done it. The Yeah, so many times we have discussed on here about the WCW purchase and what the smart fan or the smart, whatever the hell you want to call them, uh, thought they were getting or felt they deserved, whatever, however the fuck you want to say it. That was never the idea. That the Kevin Nashes, the Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Sting, Ric Flair, all those guys, they weren't coming. So from our vantage point, we were not interested in the talent. We were interested in A, the IP, and B, when I say the IP, the tape library and the IP, and B, the TV slot on TNT. So when it just came down to, you know, the TV slot is not not in play. TNT didn't want wrestling anymore. The Time Warner people didn't want to have anything to do with wrestling. Then it's like, okay, we'll take the IP, we'll take the tape library, and we took their rings and some other physical things. But the talent was a completely separate deal, man. If you want them, hey, here's the contracts. You can negotiate. You can buy these contracts and continue to honor them, and or we'll honor them and do it. Some of them were so outrageous that, like, yeah, we're not going to touch that, and didn't want the headaches that came along with it at the time that were rumored to be. So business was good for us, and I think that the perception of war, the perception of an invasion, which we did, and we did it, and here's where, again, making hasty decisions. We did all that inside of a week because we're going in. We may buy WCW, we may not buy WCW, and within a week, that decision went back and forth to where, okay, we're buying it. Now, what do we do? And came up with the story. Okay, well, if Shane buys it, and then Shane has WCW, and then we can do, this. But we didn't really even know what we had at that point. We were blind, and we decided to cherry pick some young talent, and went from there. So I think, look, the last show and the Cleveland show that we had was a spectacle and in history. So I get it. But without the WCW stalwarts, I don't think that an invasion would have worked. And obviously it didn't with what we had.
Yeah, I mean, it almost is one of those deals where you look back and you take a look at what did happen and you ask yourself, man, what were they smoking? I mean, you're trying to do your best to make chicken salad, but it was,
Yeah, but you didn't know that you had bad chicken on the other side.
that's right.
So, this was literally, the creative end of it was decided over like 2 days. The business decision to purchase the assets was on and off for a week. So then by the time it's, you reach a point of disconnect. Yeah, you know what? Tell me when it's done, guys. Tell me when it's done when I actually really have to think about it. Because right now you're just messing my head up with what ifs. And there's a lot of what ifs. So once the deal's done and we know what we have, let us know. Then it was like, okay, we have this, but we could get that. What would you do with it if you had? And that's how we came up with what we did. And lo and behold, that's it.
Well, lo and behold, there is an alternative out there that we want to talk to you a little bit about. Have you heard that the flavored air category is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping
I know that.
and smoking? It's a whole new movement towards better habits, and they're led by today's video sponsor, Fume. I got to tell you, Fume has been a game changer in my household. First of all, let me just tell you what Fume is. It's an award-winning flavored air device. You see, flavored air isn't like vaping. If vapor was compared to a sticky soda, well, Fume cores are closer to herbal teas. Fume has lots of delicious flavors to choose from, like crisp mint and orange vanilla. And with flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation through a passive diffusion system that utilizes no electronics, vapor, or combustion. Fume draws flavor to your mouth. Fume fills the void that ditches a bad habit can leave. And it's something that you can reach for. Fume is not a vape. There's no vapor, so you can use it anywhere. There's no nicotine, so it's not addictive. There's non-toxic flavors, so it really is a guilt-free alternative. And how about this? There's no batteries, so you never need to charge it. Not only that, it looks awesome. You can feel the weighted, high quality design. It just feels like a quality product in your hand. And speaking of your hand, it gives your hand something to fidget with. It's going to calm down some anxiety with magnets and snaps and clicks. Fume is continually investing in third party studies too to ensure the safety of their products. Fume is actually backed by doctors here in the United States. And of all the flavors, my wife really enjoys crisp mint the best. I've heard other people say they really love orange vanilla, but I'll tell you, if you're looking for flavored air, and that's what we're talking about. How do we get some really cool flavors in our mouth and we sort of make some better habits? Crisp mint is the go-to in our household. I think you're going to love it. I mean, in fact, there's over 300,000 customers. That's worth mentioning. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be their next success story. For a limited time, you can use our promo code WRESTLE to get a free gift with your journey pack. Head on over to tryfume.com. That's tryfum.com. Use our code WRESTLE or just scan the QR code that's on the screen right now, and you'll get a free gift with your order today. That's tryfum.com. Use our code WRESTLE or just scan the QR code. You'll get that free gift with your order today. Fume is the real deal. Let's create some better habits at tryfume.com/wrestle. Be sure to use our promo code WRESTLE. Hey, so Alex wants to know, what are two good examples of each of the championship making the man or the woman, and then the man or the woman making the championship? So we've heard that before. Hey, does the title make the man or does the man make the title? Can you give us good examples either way, in your opinion?
Shouldn't be this hard. Um, I think you could go back and look at the Ultimate Warrior and Honky Tonk Man and the Intercontinental Championship, Madison Square Garden. I think that the championship helped make the Ultimate Warrior. Honky Tonk, it was the very first ever SummerSlam, and Honky Tonk didn't have an opponent. Who is the opponent going to be? And Ultimate Warrior comes out as a surprise and beats Honky in about 30 seconds. In that moment, that championship made the Ultimate Warrior a viable type guy. In other news, I think that sometimes it would have to be a lesser championship for the guy to make the title. And, in that regard, I think, like a John Cena going back and winning the United States Championship or an Intercontinental title would have been a great example of that. So, it kind of goes both ways. But I think that when you take someone from obscurity or first time ever and they win a championship, a lot of times that championship helps to make them a bigger star.
John Smith had a question. He says, whatever happened to the custom world championship belt that WWE had made for Ric Flair to carry around with him after he returned the original big gold belt back to WCW during Flair's first run with the WWE?
Don't know. Ask Ric Flair.
It's on Hunter's wall.
I don't know. What is that?
Hunter's got it on his wall at his personal house over his fireplace.
Okay.
Ric Flair gifted it to him years ago with a little handwritten note that says, I would have loved to have dropped this to you back in the day when I was really good, or something like that. I think Hunter has two of the old title belts. The 10 pounds of gold, I think, used to be outside of his office in the old building. And
no, the 10 pounds of gold is in his office.
Yeah. Maybe in the new building. I'm just saying, when I did the tour all those years ago, it was outside of the office, and I was told that he had that one hung up at the house, but Rick could be mistaken on that, I suppose. Here's one. Joseph wants to know, Bruce, if you were around for WrestleMania 2, when Vince brought up the idea for 3 cities to host it, what would your reaction have been? So as a reminder, in year 1, we ran Madison Square Garden, but in year 2, we thought, hey, what if we had a presence in New York, one in Chicago, and one in Los Angeles? I don't think it worked as well. We know 3 came back bigger than ever at the Silverdome, but talk to us about the 3-city concept. Would you have been in favor of that or not so much?
I thought it was genius. I truly did at the time. And You got to understand too, I was 22, 23 years old at that point. So I thought, oh my God, this is incredible because in my head, I'm going, oh, gosh, you've got 3 venues you're drawing from. This is insane. This is great. 3 big shows in one night. You're close circuiting into them and everything. Oh, this is genius. As time goes on, learning more about business and learning more about, closed circuit pay-per-view and things of that nature, the cost of production, um, disaster. Yeah, horrible idea. But in the moment, at the time, I thought it was one of the greatest things I'd ever heard. Because again, I've told this story of finding the Ring magazine from the 30s, where the guy talked about how there would be a time in our lives where we'll be able to watch a championship fight from London or Tokyo or New York, and you don't even have to leave your home, and you'll be able to witness it live, and you'll pay for it. And at the time, I was thinking that he was talking about closed circuit television. Lo and behold, later on, the advent of pay per view, he was actually talking about pay per view in the 30s. So I just thought that was incredible. 3 different venues, man. It makes it bigger. But not thinking about the added cost of production and communication between all 3 events back and forth. Listening to the horror stories of that now is hilarious. But thought it was great in the moment. I would never do it. Especially, learning from that mistake and learning from all the pitfalls that come along with it.
Let's do one here from Dr. Adam K. He says at SummerSlam 89, Roddy Piper wrapped up a backstage interview by telling Mean Gene he's going to go eat a garage. Do you have any idea what Piper meant by that? Eat a garage. Yeah, that is a weird phrase.
He was hungry.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. You ever eat a garage?
I haven't yet, but I mean, I'm down to try.
Well,
Robert wants to know why did the WWE debut the Winged Eagle belt at the main event with Hogan Andre instead of WrestleMania 4? If the idea was to hold the tournament for an undisputed championship, shouldn't a new champ get the new belt on a bigger stage? Yeah, that is an interesting idea. There was a pre-tape promo that night with Hogan where he's wearing the old belt, but when he comes to the ring that night, he's wearing the new belt, and that new belt is the one that winds up over Andre's shoulder, ultimately is held up, blah, blah, blah. If you had to do over again, maybe that does make more sense, debuting the belt at WrestleMania, but we just weren't thinking that way back then.
no. It wasn't. I don't think it was that big of a deal. And it wasn't, and it really wasn't that much of a departure, too. It was, but it wasn't.
Bobby says in a recent interview with Busted Open, Ric Flair said Kurt Angle approached him in 1998 and asked Rick if he should go to the WWF or WCW. Rick then says he told Kurt to go to the WWF and made the call for Vince for him. Has Bruce ever heard this story?
I have not.
JC Tube 10 says, could you name some wrestlers who were seriously considered to become WWE champion, but plans changed at the last minute? We've always heard of these dreaded plans change, pal. But was there one that you think, man, that guy could have been the guy? Like I've heard a lot of people say that DiBiase probably supposed to have been world champion. Just didn't happen. Are there other examples you can think of?
No, DiBiase was never supposed to be champion, ever. I think people would have liked for Ted to have been champion. And I think that's where, that comes into play, is that Teddy would have been a great champion, and people looked at him as, holy cow, he would be a great departure from the traditional babyface champions that were the norm. And I think Teddy could have carried it and would have been a good champion, but that was not something that was ever seriously considered because, again, you're looking at a place that was a babyface territory that always had a babyface champion, and it was about building heroes. It was about building mega stars, and Ted was such a strong heel that wouldn't have fit at the time. So, yeah, Teddy would have been great, but that wasn't something that was seriously considered. It was discussed. Yes, it was discussed, but it wasn't discussed in a way that, yes, we're going to do this. It was brought up and then promptly told about why that won't and can't happen. Um, guys that were considered, Bam Bam Bigelow was considered at one point. Uh, is you're looking at on the way to Randy, I think. Is Bam Bam that guy that becomes the guy and becomes the champion? There have been others. We talked about Ahmed Johnson. We talked about Ahmed Johnson on this show. God, he'd be a great champion. Look at him. Unfortunately, the bell had to ring. Um, Bam Bam just came in hot and then fizzled. Um, After they'd seen him. So guys like that through the years, but trying to think of like a recent in the last 20 years, and nobody really comes to mind because on a lot of it, they did happen eventually.
Here's a fun old school question from Mr. Floxen. He says, do you have a favorite brother love segment of all time and why? My favorite brother love segment is when you had the Bushwhackers on your show. I love when the Bushwhackers gave you a sardine bath and Luke ate your nose right off your lapel. The funny segment of all time. I couldn't stop laughing from it. You know where I could find that clip because I want to see it again after all these years. Thanks for all your help as well. What was your favorite brother love segment? Do you have one?
Saturday night's main event: Hulk Hogan with Slick and Boss Man. No, Boss Man wasn't there, but Slick and I, and then Hulk Hogan. First time anybody touched me, and it was it was Hulk handcuffing me and clotheslining me over the top and getting to hang there. But it was my first Saturday night's main event. The electricity at that time, because nobody had touched me at all, and it was Hulk returning, and people knew I was going to get mine. We were in the Arco Arena in Sacramento, and it's one of those arenas that goes straight up, and so the audience is on you, man. Hands down, just the electricity and the feeling of hatred from that audience, and then the explosion when he finally nailed, and it was, man, it was great. Anything I did with Bobby Heenan, anything I did with Piper, they were all just great. But I would have to say that Hulk was my favorite to work with because it was just so easy, and the feeling you would get, it, you always got goosebumps out there with that son of a bitch. He was so hot, and it was a rush. It was an absolute rush. Second favorite is in the box with Undertaker because I finally got to do something antagonistic with the Undertaker, and that was probably my second favorite.
We got a great question from Nicole Brumley who says, what's your favorite memory of working with The Undertaker as brother?
That would probably be it coming out of the box. I think the debut in general was such a rush, and the feeling walking out with Undertaker the first time, the cold, ice cold hush that came over the audience was like, oh, what the hell is this? And they believed without him ever doing a thing. It just he looked straight out of central casting. And I think, the debut with Take was off the chart, and getting to work with him in the antagonist role later on was an absolute highlight. But I enjoyed working with Undertaker from the aspect of getting to build something brand new. and taking a character out of my head that actually had a human being that was willing and that was into it and who threw himself into that character so much and had such man, he was just so invested, and that's why it's the greatest character of all time. Not because of me, because of him.
Hypothetically speaking, you and him ever hit any gas stations in rural Tennessee together?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure have. Yeah,
Can you tell us any stories about you and he in rural Tennessee together in gas stations? Maybe the Chattanooga
is
area?
Chattanooga rural?
Well, it ain't Nashville.
No, when we first started, man, we're young, and I had an opportunity one night. We were in Chattanooga. We were going to Atlanta that night. Let's get the hell out of Dodge, man, and get to Atlanta because that's where the party was. And we get done with our segment. I take a washcloth, wash my face as best I can, mess up my hair as best I can. Taker just kind of takes the same thing, washcloth, but he's still got like the purple in his eyes and still, got some of the pale stuff all over him. And I throw on a different coat. He put on his leather, same thing, the same duster that he wore to the ring. And we take off, man. We just got to get out of Chattanooga. We got lost. Upon getting lost, what do you do, man? You pull in a gas station, you ask for directions. We didn't have GPS, you didn't have cell phones. Okay, you pulled into your friendly neighborhood gas station. Said, "Hey, excuse me, sir. Could you tell me how to get to the highway? We're heading to Atlanta." And sometimes they would pull out a road map and show you. Well, here you are, right here, and then you go down here, you take a left. That wasn't the case. This we pulled in. You gentlemen outside gas station there. I said, "Hey, excuse me. Could you tell us how to get to the gas station?" And well, I don't know how to describe person best. Kind of a gangsta. I think that would be a word. Um, Came walking up very slowly to the window because I have the windows down on my side, on the passenger side, Taker's driving. He likes to lean way back like this and drive. So really couldn't see him at all. And the gentleman approached the car, grabbing his private parts, and started out with, "Looky here, how much money you got?" "What? Man, we just need to get to the highway. Can you help us out?" And the guy's approaching, kind of threatening, like got something in his pocket, a knife, gun, whatever. Fuck, I don't know, maybe nothing, but it didn't appear that he was being too friendly. And at this point, the Staker's laid way back. For those of you on YouTube, you'll be able to see he's like way back in his chair, and he just sits up, turns and looks at the guy. And when he does, this guy starts backpedaling, almost falls down. And it's like, "Holy shit, man. That dude looks like he just killed somebody. Hey, listen, man. Y'all go down here 2 blocks. You're going to take a left, and then you're going to take the first right. That's good. The highway's going to be right there, man. Y'all need to get the fuck out of here." Because he literally saw the dead man. Well, we made our way to Atlanta and showered up, got down to the bar, and watched Kevin Sullivan pass out. It was great.
Can you show us again how he sat up?
He was all the way back like this.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is the visualization of Blue Chew, today's episode, and Bruce's Wiener, sponsored by Blue Chew. Yeah, so rest in peace to your soft little ding dong. Let's talk about sex. Guys, remember the days when you were always ready to go? Well, now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up. It's bluechew.com. You're going to be hitting chicks with tombstones after this. I mean, it's going to be wild. Get her on a last ride. It's got the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. And you're going to be rolling, rolling, rolling. It'll be like you're raising the dead over there. The process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And the best part, it's all done online. So there's no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. And Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door, all in a discreet package. But there won't be anything discreet about your package. Seriously, Blue Chew's going to have you working with more stiffs than The Undertaker at WrestleMania. More than Bundy, more than Gonzalez, more than Khali. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at bluechew.com. Let's chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code WRESTLE at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com. The promo code is WRESTLE and you'll receive your first month free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast and Bruce's Wiener. Here's a question. Do you think Bruiser Brody could have had a successful run in the WWE back in the 80s? I could imagine runs with Hogan, Savage, and Warrior. We've talked about this a lot, man. I mean, he would have been a fantastic opponent for Hogan, but do you think it could have worked?
Yeah, I don't think it would have worked. I think it would have been great. I would love for it to have worked, but I don't think that Frank would have been able to deal in that kind of structure. Frank liked to be able to go out, do his own thing, have the ability to leave at any time, and exercise that ability whenever he just got a hair. So I don't see it working.
Paul Weston says, hello, Mr. Prichard. I always thought WWE should have made an effort to sign Ivan and Nikita Koloff during the mid to late 80s. The Russian Nightmare versus Hulk Hogan, in my opinion, would have made a far better main event for WrestleMania 2 than the one we got with Bundy. The commentary could play up how Uncle Ivan ended the 7-year reign of Bruno, and now Mother Russia has sent Ivan and his nephew to end Hulkamania. Thank you. Man, it does feel like Nikita could be a ready-made heel that Vince would have loved, and it would have been great for our All-American Hulk Hogan. Was it ever seriously discussed or considered Nikita Koloff in the WWF?
I think they had a meeting with Nikita. I don't really know. That was before my time, but I want to say that yes, they had met with Nikita, and there was, for whatever reason, that never worked out. But I think Nikita was a hell of a heel. Hell of a heel. I thought that they, the babyface turn with Magnum and all that with Dusty was great for the moment. I mean, oh my God, just waterfall of tears, and really, really great for the moment. But after that, I think he was deader than Kelsey's done. But he's just a great, great, believable, nasty heel, and probably should have stayed that way.
This is a fun hypothetical.
In the moment, it was great.
Fun hypothetical here from Chico 1680. In a hypothetical scenario where Bruce didn't go on hiatus in 1991, Warrior didn't hold up Vince at SummerSlam, and Hogan versus Flair was a massive draw on the house shows, how would you book Hulk, Flair, Savage, Sid, Warrior, Jake Roberts, and The Undertaker for WrestleMania 8? Of course, he's insinuating if we did actually go forward with Hogan Flair because it had done well on the houses. What if Warrior had hung around? Do you think that would have changed creative? What would have happened at 8 that didn't happen?
Yeah, a lot of hypotheticals that you wish would have happened, but fact of the matter is, in major markets and in a major where Flair was allegedly strong, didn't draw it. So to test market something, to test something and put it out there, in the past, and we've done it a lot of times. Let's test and see if there's any interest in this and put it out there. And it's blown up and go, okay, shit, we got something there. Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh shit, there's something there. Um, Flair and Hogan didn't. Nobody cared. They didn't care. The WWF audience looked at Rick as a second-rate champion. That's how they viewed him because their guy, their world revolved around WWF and whoever the champion was there. So it wasn't that Rick was a second-rate champion. It was the audience viewed him as such because they weren't as familiar with him. So to the Ric Flair fans in the NWA, they were like, "Oh my God, this is great." But that audience wasn't as big, and that audience wasn't uh, WWF fans. So there was no, it didn't work. So it's you have a hypothetical. Okay, had they done that, then WrestleMania fell flatter than it fell. 'Cause WrestleMania 8 was not a success. It was flatter and plate full of piss. And I dare say Hogan with the title going into WrestleMania 8 against Sid probably would have been the bigger marquee match by far.
The smoking.
So
Go ahead.
go ahead.
The smoking hot dad says, "What was Paul Bosch's thoughts on Black Saturday? Did he see it as a major change, or did he feel he really wouldn't affect his business in the Houston market?" This comes up because it was an episode or a topic for Dark Side of the Ring. What did Paul think of Black Saturday, and what did you think of Black Saturday?
I think everybody kind of looked at it as Vince's first, you know, big move, even though Vince's first big move was really USA and All American Wrestling and what he was doing. The PBS, the 605 Saturday night show for wrestling fans was that was holy shit because now I'm what happened to the other stars. Um it was it was also during a time frankly where everything was in turmoil and everywhere you look, man, whether it be MTV, USA, WWF was everywhere. Now they're on TBS. Now there is no alternative. Where am I going to see, the Georgia stars? So yes, it was crazy, man, but I think that was the general feeling with everybody. I know Bill Watts was, how dare him? And we'll go on there and kick his ass. When Bill, this is how Bill fought Vince. Vince would come into Tulsa, Oak City, New Orleans. Bill fought him by putting on free shows. Hey, folks, don't go there. Come here, see your favorites that you see every week for free. So that hurt Vince's business, but it didn't help Bill's business because he was giving it away. What we did in Houston against Vince, and it did work, is we did directly counter programming. We did it with bringing in all the top, whether it was Tommy Rich or Flair or whoever else from outside. We brought everybody in. We brought the guys, we brought Kerry in, we brought Gino in, brought in top stars from everywhere, Moskers, everybody else that we could. But you paid for it. And Paul would look at it and then he would say to the audience, it's like, hey, you have a choice. Vote with your dollars. Vote with your presence. If you feel that we have the better card with all of these top stars from all over the world, or you can go see the Hollywood stuff. That's how we would refer to it. And the audience voted with their dollars. And they would come to our show. We would kill them. And when it got to the point where Crockett was doing Crockett stuff, Crockett and Watts was solely in charge of booking Houston, that Watts was used to in his other markets, major markets, Oak City, Tulsa, New Orleans, that Vince would come in, Watts would give it away. Paul was like adamant, we're not going to do a free show. No way. You give it away, then every time they come in, they're going to expect you to give it away. And then you're going to charge them for something that may not be as good because you're giving them a great event for free. Why pay? Why pay again? I'll just wait till WWF comes back and they'll give me another free show. So it was decisions like that kind of hurt, Bill's territory and things of that nature. And Black Saturday was just one of those like, holy cow. And it's funny, Bill went on TBS in the morning. Bill got that morning slot and gave it back to Crockett or whoever the hell he gave it to, but would brag about the ratings. Well, yeah, Bill, you're on at 7:30 in the morning, so you're the top show at 7:30 in the morning on cable. What is that? 4:30 on the West Coast. So there were spins. JR used to go through the Arbitron rating and just pick out the highest ones. Now, forget about the fact that the show was from 1 to 2 a.m. By God, we're number one in the market. You're number one between 1 and 2 a.m. in the market. So, there was a lot of spin and people trying to convince themselves that oh, hey, we're doing better. Um, and it just wasn't so. And Vince was just slowly chipping away at it. So the Black Saturday, I think, was kind of one of those first big major. Holy shit, he's serious about that? You know what I mean? So yeah, it was crazy.
Let's do one from Quincy Raceways. He says, Bruce, what's your favorite wrestling memorabilia piece you own, whether it's a poster, a ring worn item, an action figure, etc.? What is your favorite piece of your collection? You've got quite a collection of stuff you collected and Paul's old collection. Is there one sort of apple of your eye of all of it, do you think?
Yeah, Maurice Tillet, the French Angel's death mask, without a doubt. I think that's my favorite because it literally, and the story there is the French Angel Maurice Tillet. Shrek allegedly was based on his look and things of that nature, but he had the giant disease and his head was abnormally large, had large hands, but had a normal body. So it was like I think he was 6 foot or 6'1", but had this incredibly huge head, probably as big, if not bigger, than Andre the Giant's. And Bobby Manigoff, an old wrestler and promoter, uh, Bobby convinced Maurice to do a mold of his head, a death mask, as they called it, when Maurice was dying. And Bobby got this plaster mold of Maurice's head, and he you know, had it done, sent it to Milo Steinborn, Florida. Milo sent it to Paul Bosch. Paul then got a bronze made of it. And that is what I have in my office here. It's beautiful. The York barbell, Milo also got them one, but what they have is a white wax one. And there's some guy in Minneapolis or something like that that has a white wax one as well that he found in a dumpster. And those are the only ones that I know of. I have the only bronze one, and it's just very cool. But I've got things. I've got books of Carl Gotch from or Frank Gotch from like the 20s, things like that. I've got Paul's old booking books and his old booking um, where he would book the entire year on a piece of cardboard, um, the whole year, and 6 months on each side, and things like that. They're sentimental to me. I don't know that they're really worth anything, or that anybody else would be interested in them that doesn't have the history that I have. Got Paul's letters. Um, oh, son of a bitch! Look at this. You want to see something? I can't believe this is even in here. Can you read that?
Your friend, Dave Meltzer.
Yeah.
A handwritten note to Paul Bosch from Dave Meltzer.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my notes of a conversation with Dave Meltzer.
Show us that letterhead from the old, like the top of that sheet of paper that you held.
What, Paul's?
Yeah.
Oh, here. Something to wrestle with.
That's the original. So, folks, that's the origin of the name of this podcast.
Yeah.
How great is that?
Yeah. Where Dave Meltzer said fans who read his newsletter are all idiots who don't know anybody.
He didn't
From Dave Meltzer.
He didn't write that.
Said it.
Snap a picture.
Not as my witness.
Snap a picture of that and send it to Dave Silva so we can post it in the video here in post.
No, it's not worth it.
Okay. Hey, Russell Campbell says your impressions are amazing.
That's amazing that's right there. Now I'm going to show you something.
Okay. I like it. Folks, if you're missing out, go right now to somethingtowrestle.com.
This is my questionnaire, May 2nd, 1985, for my black belt.
Which one?
No, this is for the actual black belt.
Okay.
So date started karate 1970, blah, 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 blah. Live, name, parents, blah, blah, blah. I was 6 feet, 215 pounds. Occupation, promotion, wrestling, school, marital status, single, children, 0. Favorite book, Jim Morrison, No One Here Gets Out Alive. Favorite movie, Rocky 3. My fantasy is to be the premier wrestling promoter in the world.
Wow.
Future plans, further my career in wrestling, learn every aspect, become a millionaire by age 35. Karate, gotta write that. Hardest thing I had to do in karate was my brown belt test. Most enjoyable experience in karate was finishing my black belt test.
That's pretty cool, man. How old were you then?
21, 22. 22.
Awesome.
I should probably go through this drawer more.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I put shit in drawers and then
Move on.
Everything I need's here.
Russell Campbell says your impressions are amazing. Is this something you did as a child? And if so, who did you impersonate back then? And has this ever gotten you in trouble? Has anyone ever complained about your impression?
So, first impression I remember doing was Dusty Rhodes.
Okay.
Because Dusty came to Houston for holidays, for Christmas and things like that. Dusty would cut these incredible promos, and I would try and do the American Dream, talking about how pretty everybody is, the American Dream. I'm him, this Latin everybody, Christmas, ho, 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 I'm your Santa Claus, baby. And he would do, and I would, ho, 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 I'm your Santa Claus, and shit like that, American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And because he was different, exciting. But I would pick up on people who would have unique, speech patterns. There was a coach in high school, Coach Cole. Hey, goddamn, Peter, what are you doing? And so I did Coach Cole a lot. And for football practice, we all used to sit out. We'd walk out the door, and then there was like a little landing there. Everybody would sit on that landing until Coach Cole came out and called everybody out to the field to start our warm-ups. So everybody was sitting there and all that. So everybody's sitting there and all that shit. And I walk out one day. All right, everybody, let's go. Everybody out to the field. Let's go. Come on now. Good day, everybody. Everybody gets up, including the other coaches. And they're walking out. And probably about 5 seconds, Coach Cole walks out. Yeah, goddamn, y'all ain't even waiting for me now. What are y'all doing? And Coach Lonnie, one of the coaches, turned around and says, "What the?" And somebody says, "That was Prichard." Goddamn, Prichard, you sound just like Coach Cole. Shit. So yeah, I ran a little. Yeah, they've got me. Vince has got me in trouble before. Dusty's got me in trouble before. Um,
Horror Movie Barbecue has a great question. This popped up a few weeks ago. Any truth to the story that part of Saturday Night Main Event's budget was used to fund a few episodes of the first season of Seinfeld? This came out because Seinfeld was doing media to promote his new movie on Netflix. And during one of those various interviews, he talked about how, Seinfeld succeeded against all odds. And he even made reference to the fact that those early episodes were funded by money that was originally allocated for WWE. Of course, we know that that would have been Saturday Night's Main Event on NBC. And we do know that there was a time period where they moved on and we would see Saturday Night's Main Event actually on Fox. So, do you recall the timing of that? Would that make sense to you? Were you surprised to hear that, or did you know that?
I did not know that. Never heard that. Never heard that. And I'm trying to think when we went to Fox, because I think that was earlier than maybe not. I really don't know.
It's
I know
interesting.
that Lisa Kudrow came up to Jerry Seinfeld at a party one time and introduced herself, and he just looked at her and said, "You're welcome." Because Friends came after Seinfeld, and Friends, a lot of people theorize Friends would not have had the success it had without Seinfeld.
The final airing of Saturday Night's Main Event on NBC was April 27th, 1991. So there were only 2 episodes on Fox in 1992. I don't
So
know.
then so then that wouldn't have been because Seinfeld was not up in 91, was it? Yeah, well, sure it was.
Yeah, so that show actually started in 89.
Yeah.
Um, Fascinating to think about, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Never heard that.
Here's one from Brad Mueller. He says, since Bruce is from Texas, what is his Mount Rushmore of Texas wrestling? So we know we got Dory Funk. We know we got Terry Funk. It's the rest of Texas.
Wahoo McDaniel, Jose Lothario, and Gene Hernandez.
That's 5.
Well, it's my Mount Rushmore. I can put mine on it.
Randy wants to know, what's the scariest?
Johnny Valentine.
Wait, there's 6 now?
Yeah.
Do we count Dusty? Is he 7?
No.
Randy Rowland says, what's the scariest fan interaction back in the Brother Love days? Was there anybody who ever took their dislike for the character maybe a little too far?
The very first night that I did Brother Love, I had to do 3 Brother Love episodes in front of the crowd. First one was my introduction, which was just Bobby Heenan introducing me. The second one was the fact that my benefactor, Ted DiBiase, would make sure that I was on every single week. And my third was Slick and the Big Boss Man. By the time I came out the third time, like they were so pissed at me from the second time because I was obnoxious. I had to get heat, and you know that that had somebody coming over the railing during the third one before I even brought out Slick and Boss Man. So it was great, yeah.
Here's a fun question from YouTube. It says, to the best of your knowledge, was Tito Santana ever a heel? If not, why not? Do you think he could have been a good heel?
As a human being, I don't think Tito Santana could be. He's such a nice guy. I don't know of Tito ever being a heel. And
I
I
don't
think
remember that either.
Mercedes Solis, he's a very what you see is what you get. And he's very genuine. Sweetheart of a human being. I would find it hard to boo Tito Santana in any endeavor.
Jeffrey says Harley Race was injured in his match against Hulk Hogan just a few weeks before WrestleMania 4. What were the plans for Race if he wasn't hurt? He wasn't in the tournament brackets, so would he have won the Battle Royal instead of Bad News Brown or been involved elsewhere?
Yeah, again, these what ifs when you're talking about things that actually did happen. It's hard to go back and play hypothetical what if because it's you lived it. But Harley's injury was so unexpected, and I think that Harley was looking for a few more years out of that. I will tell you a story that happened out of Harley's injury at WrestleMania 4 is we had begun doing our individual promos for each market, our customized promos for each market. And we changed the way we did them. Instead of having Gene Okerlund stand with talent do every market, 20 markets do 20 promos. We did one promo, had Gene do wraparounds for them, and they had to be edited. So there had been a gentleman that was hired as, how was he hired? He might have been executive producer. I was supervising producer, so he might have been executive producer. I don't know. But he came in really nice gentleman from Major League Baseball and golf. And but he did not know the business, did not know the promotion business, the live event business, or anything of that nature. And he overheard Vince and Pat talking about Harley's surgery and the fact that Harley would be out for 6 weeks. And Harley was on the opening match on several of the live events that were coming up, and they were going to have to be changed. But we had already cut the wraparound for said events. So in the wraparounds, Gene Okerlund was a cavalcade of stars. Hulk Hogan will be there to face, the Ultimate Warrior. Randy Savage defends his title against the $1 Million Man. Ted, blah blah blah. Many more stars to be there, including Les Thornton, the King, Harley Race, Rick Rude. Mention whole every box that went out. Luckily, my shipping guy, uh, whose daughter just left me yesterday. She was my assistant. Caught it and says, "Hey, Bruce, listen, man, we had all these tapes, and he pulled them all and had me send generic tapes to all these markets." And I'm looking at the markets, man. It's all major markets. So why did he have them pull? He says, "Goes well, because they mentioned Harley Race." So I'm looking at the cards, going, "Harley's opening match. Nobody's going to buy the ticket for Harley. DiBiase and Savage doesn't draw. They're not. My God, we didn't even have a promo from Harley in here. His name is just mentioned. Just no, God, we got to get these to the markets because it's the very first weekend after WrestleMania. So you got new champion, you got new event, new attraction, all this stuff. And we had to got a couple Lear jets, put people tapes on Lear jets. When the jets just took off, it would stop market by market, and they would have a car take them to the TV station. They would show up, say, "I need the old tape back that has the generic on it." Take that one back and hand them a new one. And yeah, that's my Harley Race story. Bless his heart.
Vickers says, did The Undertaker ever have an issue with not being at the forefront of storylines during his 97 championship run? He seemed largely overshadowed by the Austin, Hart, Shawn Michaels, Hart Foundation story. That's a good question. He had that cup of coffee after he beat Hogan in 91 for the world title, and that didn't end the way he would have hoped, I'm sure, with the whole controversy about did he or didn't he drop Hogan on his head, which we know he definitely did not. And then when he gets it back, this wasn't the original plan. It was probably supposed to be Brett and Sean, but hey, we can always call an old faithful Undertaker. But even when he's got the title, he's not really the focus of the storyline. It's still about Shawn and Brett and now Austin. Do you think Undertaker felt a certain type of way about that?
I think Undertaker is a professional, and he looked at it as he's doing his job and he's doing what we needed him to do at the time. So if it's, again, that's how you want to view it, or whoever wants to view it. Um, Undertaker didn't view it that way. Undertaker viewed it as he was doing his job and doing what he needed to do at the time. And there are other stories going on that are still going to go on. And you need other stories. You can't just have one, just focus on that.
Here's one from Rebecca. What is your response to prominent figures like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, who were close with Paul and Sean, claiming Montreal was a work? I'll admit, I don't remember hearing them say that, but any response to those who believe that Montreal was a work?
I don't believe that. So I was there. They weren't there. Um, I was there. So it wasn't work to me. It was real to me, damn it. No, it was, if it was, and it was very well elaborated work, and I'm sure that that was first thing that Vince and Paul did was call Kevin Nash and John and say, "Hey, this was work, man. Don't worry about it." Yeah, dealing in the reality of it and dealing with the fallout of it and dealing with everything else that came along with it. It was work. It was elaborate work, and they got me. So I call hogwash on that.
Marcus Majors says, "Who is the more athletic big man, Bam Bam Bigelow or Vader?"
Bam Bam. I think Bam Bam was just a lot more athletic and more agile.
Speaking of another agile big man, Zoye
I'm
says,
right here. Yeah. That's
"What what's your take on Sean O'Hare? What stopped him from getting to the top? I know he's often brought up as one of the biggest what ifs in wrestling, but
good
I'm a pretty
Lord, man.
casual fan. I only discovered him a few months ago. I'd love to hear your take."
God, I thought Sean O'Hara could have been the next guy. I thought he had all the tools. Good. He had the look. Um, could do some incredible things in the ring. Unfortunately, had no psychology and or personality, larger than life personality to bring him to the next level. He got so far on his look and got so far on, oh wow, this big man can do incredible things. But that's where it ended, unfortunately. We tried putting him with Piper. Um, had Roddy on the road with him to try to help him with his psychology and try to help him with, here's why you do this here, here's why you do that there, and teach him. And it just was, man, it just didn't work. It just did not work.
Let's talk a little bit about Pat Patterson. Bryant Whaley wants to know, what is your favorite Pat Patterson story?
God, too many. I, God, Pat taught me so many things in life in general. Um, and Pat had such an incredible life himself, living his life as a gay man in a straight man's world at the time where being gay was taboo and criminal in some places, like Alabama, even. I just saw a documentary on that, focusing on Alabama, and it was Pat lived his life, man, and was very successful in a business that didn't embrace that lifestyle. So, he lived a very incredible life and was labeled and accused of things just because he was gay by people that don't know him and don't know the situation, or on the outside say, well, because he's gay, he must have done that, or that must have been what he was doing. Not even remotely the case, and painted him with the same brush the people that may have done some things that were not quite right. That wasn't Pat. My kids, I would let Pat Patterson and Louis Dondero, his life partner, they babysit them, and
watch him for weeks on end. Had no problem with that at all. Used to come home and we would work at my house, and my wife would come home and go in, take a shower, and come down in a robe and sit on Pat's lap. Oh, the Pat, Bruce, yeah, the Pat. If I was ever to go straight, I would take her from you. That was the man that I knew. Pat was absolutely just hilarious. He made everything fun. And he kept me sane. He taught me the two most important words, what if, and helped me, just taught me so many things about the business and psychology, simple whys and why not, and how to deal with people in general. So, every story, yeah, Pat retired in 94, maybe right before WrestleMania 12. The December before WrestleMania 12, whatever the hell that is. And we threw a big party for Pat at my house, and all Pat wanted was a big screen TV. So we got him this big screen TV. He was going to move to Florida, sell his house in Connecticut, move to Florida. So we get him this big screen TV, and I said, Pat, are you just doing this for the big screen TV? Fuck you. And sure enough, son of a bitch was there doing the main event at WrestleMania 12, and then he came back after that, and then retired again. I guess that's in the wrestling business. We retire, then we come back, retire, then we come back, retire, come back. But Pat retiring and coming back for me was always funny. Like, I'm done. I'm not going to do shit. I'm going away. Was just fabulous. But Pat was a hoot. He was a hoot. No matter everything that you did was kind of a lesson with him. If you went to Katz's Deli in New York, Brucey, what you do? You ask the guy. You go, hey, can I try some of the corned beef? No. The fattier, the one with the fat in it. The guy gives him. He goes, okay, make mine medium. And he takes $1 bill and puts $1 bill up on the thing. Now I get the extra. I'm like, all right. Everything was like that. You know what I mean? It was like, Brucey, this is how you do this at a pace, and you get the better room if you do. He was an absolute trip, and he was a teaching machine. And he knew he was teaching. He loved teaching, but I don't know that everyone that he was teaching all the time understood the education that they were getting at the time. And just magnificent human being that I love to death. Was a great, just a great part of this business. And so many things that you see today are because of Pat Patterson.
Trevor A. Williams says, do you have any stories about the song Slam Jam and WrestleMania?
Oh God. So I don't have it in here. Is Slam Jam the one that we did with Simon Cowell? Is that the UK one?
Let me look that up.
I think it is. So that was great. We had gone over to Germany to do some shows, and I think we were no, they weren't. They were. There was a show, but we also went over to meet with the folks at Canal Plus in Paris, and also the Sky folks in London. And then we went to Germany and met with some other folks.
Yeah, Slam Jam was Simon Cowell. You're right.
Okay, so while we were in Germany, and this was myself, Shane McMahon, and Wayne Duban, head of our international and a lot of our business affairs. Great, very smart man, great guy. And we're meeting with these two producers, record producers, Simon Cowell. I think the other one is Simon Fuller. There were two Simons, so it was easy, man. Hey, Simon. Oh no, not you. You didn't know who they were, didn't know anything about them, other than they were music producers. And they explained, and this was Simon Cowell. pretty much led everything, was very just into this. And he would explain, he goes, he goes, I've been in the music business for all these years. And he goes, and the worst thing about the music business is the payola. You can have the greatest song, the greatest singer, the greatest musician in the world. But if it doesn't get radio play, nobody buys their albums, nobody buys their songs. And in order to get radio play, you've got to know somebody, you got to pay somebody off, you got to do favors, everything. He goes, but I'm convinced that the medium to sell music is not radio. Radio's dead. And this was in, early 90s. Radio's dead. This is television. He says, I firmly believe that I can take a television star with no talent at all, no singing talent, and put enough talent around him or her and sell more albums than I can with the best singer in the world on radio. Because the medium of television, you can see them. If you like their personalities, you will buy into whatever it is that they're selling. So his concept was, he goes, we were the number one show on Sky Sports. So I want to take, he says, your numbers are incredible. Everybody knows the WWE. I want to take WWF superstar and I want to do an album. And I don't care if they've ever sung a note in their life. Michael Hayes wasn't here. I don't, sometimes Jimmy Jam came along. Those were the best days. Now they're gone. If Michael had been here, they would just. But anyway, he was like, let's take WWF superstars. I'll get musicians around them to do the work, the heavy lifting. And all they have to do is, he goes, we can chants. Just do a word here, but it's, the Macho Man and it's, shit like that. And like, okay, yeah, sounds good. They come to Connecticut, and on Fridays in the office, were casual. It was casual Friday, so we could wear jeans. Now, if you had an outside appointment, so if someone was coming into the office, the expectation was that you were to dress nicer. You wear your suit or at least wear a sport coat. So this meeting that we had with the two Simons, going to be JJ Dillon was going to be involved. I was in it, Wayne DeBan, Shane, and Vince. And we have the meeting. I'm wearing jeans, wore a sport coat, and wore a polo. Simon and Simon show up like they show up. Exactly, how like you would see Simon early days in American Idol.
Yes.
And he's just t-shirt and jeans. And most of the time looked filthy. Like he hadn't bathed and hadn't washed, wearing the same shirt 8th day in a row or something. And they came dressed like that. This is in a suit. I'm not wearing a suit. Polo shirt. I'm wearing jeans. I'm wearing a sport coat. But I've already met with these guys. Like I knew what to expect. Right? They're coming in, in their t-shirts. They had a little breakfast spread out, bagels and danishes and shit like that and everything. Everybody in the room is eating. We finish up the meeting, goes across the office, doors open. We start to walk away. Bruce, JJ, come here. We walk back. God damn. Because you're in the middle of a meeting, outside people in there. Bagel, great bunch of butter, cheese, all that stuff in your face. You shouldn't do that. Come from a guy that ate, all of his meals in front of us and all this stuff. Now, keep in mind, I had a bagel too, and everybody else in the room did. So JJ leaves. He gets, chewed out for eating. I'm thinking I'm just there because I was eating too. Like, okay. And Bruce, the hell's with the out? What do you mean? Casual Friday. You look like shit in jeans. Don't ever wear jeans again.
Oh my God.
I didn't wear jeans for the longest time, man. And yeah. But it was there are jeans and t-shirts. I'm in nice jeans and a polo and a sport coat.
You look like shit in jeans. What
I
a
look like
great
shit
line.
in jeans. So I didn't wear jeans again.
All
Left
right.
with that.
We'll do 2 more questions. We'll let you out of here. One that's going to piss you off, one that'll make you happy. We'll finish on a high note. JMB says it's been widely stated that the WWF/WWE tried many times to get Mark Henry to quit by booking him in ridiculous angles, like being a sex addict who admitted to sleeping with his sister in the Mae Young storylines. That was a way to get him out of paying for his contract. That's the allegation here. You were there. Chat us up about Mark Henry in this maybe supposed controversy.
Absolutely false. 100% false. Mark was very entertaining. Mark was good at those things. Mark was good at like the shocking stuff. He was a hell of an entertainer. And yeah, in no way. Look, there were times. There was a time that we did want to get out but I'll tell you how we did it is we called Mark and his agent or manager, who was also a great guy, Terry Todd, up to Connecticut and told them, we don't think you're cutting it. And if you don't want to be here, leave. But if you want to be here, you need to work harder and you need to improve on this and improve on that. And otherwise, we are going to cut ties. But Mark was great at those things. Mark was, oh my God, his reactions, his acting skills, his chops were tremendous. So, punish him by getting him over. That's a hell of a punishment, man.
SC Hybrids.
We're going to punish you. We're going to get you over in a hot story and you're going to do great.
And we're going to pay you.
And we're going to pay you. Think about how silly that is.
For younger fans like myself who missed out on Houston wrestling, what are a few matches and segments you think should be must see? So this is what we'll close with, Bruce. We got some folks who are wanting to do some homework. They want to go binge some Houston wrestling, but they want to find the good stuff. What's the stuff you would recommend people go out of their way to see?
Okay, I'm looking it up right now. All right. Terry Funk versus Harley Race.
We got that. Terry Funk and Harley Race, Houston.
Well, I'm going to give you the date, everything. Okay. July 1st, 1977. You can get it on YouTube. All right. It is 42 minutes long and it is excellent. And it is a story in great ring psychology and telling a story in a match. And it was not an angle. We were shooting an angle to have this match, and they had the crowd eating out of the palm of their hand. Without a doubt, one of the greatest wrestling matches, just in pure wrestling matches, one of the greatest of all time to watch and to learn and see two masters of their craft go out and not have to shoot some crazy angle and all this stuff to get into the match. It was about a championship, and it was about two of the best meeting, and they had people eating out of the palm of their hands. Anything, if you can find Mr. Houston, see if it's even on here. Mr. Houston, Boris Malenko. Some of his promos. Boris Malenko. Here's a good one. Yeah, the Great Malenko versus Paul Bosch, 1970 on YouTube. Absolutely classic when you go back and you think of great times in Houston. That was when I had first moved to Houston in 1969, and Boris Malenko was top heel with Lord Charles Montague as his who was Hans Mortier, and just absolute classic stuff, man. When you think of great things, Wahoo McDaniel and Boris Malenko had legendary. The first sellout was a Russian chain match. I've got the pictures sitting in there in my office. was the first sellout for Paul Bosch as a promoter with the Golf Athletic Club. And it was Wahoo versus Boris Malenko in a Russian chain match. I was there. Absolute classic, but just you had to park blocks away. We had started taking karate, Tom and I did. And so walking the streets of Houston late at night was a scary thing, versus parking in the parking lot where it was, safe and lit and all this stuff. And so we had learned a fighting stance, and we walked like this with our fighting stance with, one hand across our chest and the other one straight out to defend our mother, by God, if anybody about 7 and 11 years old. So yeah, those were some great times, man. Anything with Wahoo, anything with Malenko, Johnny Valentine, watch Johnny Valentine and Bull Curry tear it up. That's on YouTube. That is absolutely fun. Oh God, just fantastic. But it was, moments like that solidified as a kid, man, this is what I have. And taking you all the way back to the beginnings, all I ever wanted to do. And those are the reasons, those moments in time that I still, at 61 years old, can go flash back to and go, oh my God, it was great. Seeing the Moon Man, Gary Hart bring a guy to the ring with a pillowcase on his head and stand in the ring, and Gary pulls the pillowcase off and he's got this wild hair out to here. And we had just landed on the moon. So Gary goes, hey, this is what came back from the moon, and he escaped once they landed, but I've got him here. He was the Moon Man. Worked for a couple. Great. But shit like that was just, that made Houston wrestling, and it was magical, different. The other thing that happened was in El Paso, Harley Race did this deal with Grizzly Smith, where Grizzly Smith had an iron stomach, so people would hit Grizzly hard as they could in his stomach, hurt their hand. Bring people from the audience in, hit Grizzly in the stomach, and you couldn't hurt him. So Harley says, "Tell you what, I'm gonna get up here and jump off, whatever it was, a ladder or something, onto your stomach. By God, and I'll hurt you." And when he came off with a knee across his neck and broke Grizzly Smith's neck.
Damn it.
Grizzly was done. Broken neck, out of the business. Had to retire, never to return. Then we had to move from El Paso. We moved from El Paso. Upon arriving in Houston, found out that Grizzly Smith was returning. Oh, he's going to be okay. He's going to return. What we didn't know, found out, was that in Houston, Texas, Johnny Valentine came off the top rope onto Grizzly's neck and broke Grizzly's neck in Houston. So either Grizzly was the dumbest motherfucker and had 2 broken necks, or something ain't right. Maybe this is a wizard. That's exactly what I said to Tom. Exactly what I said to him. I got 6 years old.
You did it in karma.
Tom, I'm beginning to think there's a wizard going on around here.
Well, we'll get to the bottom of that and a whole lot
more. And then
more.
He said, damn. It's just like that. Just like that. And then we went over and pushed the button on our fireplace.
Oh, gosh. All right, boys and girls, Bruce is petering out, but we will be back next week.
I'm just getting going now. God, I've had a whole.
You want to do 2 more hours? Just keep it going. We'll knock out another episode for next week right after this.
Now you're talking.
Yeah, I thought so. Hey, join us next week. Tell everybody that Something to Wrestle is now on Mondays. Your home for all things Bruce Prichard is somethingtowrestle.com. It's totally free to subscribe. Be sure to hit the notifications bell, and we'll actually have some of the links for the matches and moments from Houston wrestling that Bruce referenced in the description for today's episode, all available at somethingtowrestle.com. So go check out the video for this particular episode, and we'll have those links up. Of course, it's Ask Bruce Anything, the first week of June 2024. And what's on deck next week? We'll be talking all things Mick Foley, from Mankind to Cactus Jack to Dude Love to everything in between. Our man, the Micker, is our topic next week here on somethingtowrestle.com. And we'd love to have your interactions. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, drop us a question, somethingtowrestle.com. You can also interact with us on social. It's at Prichard Show on Twitter and Instagram, Something to Wrestle over on Facebook. And I am at Hey It's Conrad on Twitter, at Hey It's Conrad Thompson on Instagram. Bruce doesn't post much, but maybe one day we'll talk him into posting that letter from Dave Meltzer to Paul Bosch. Why so secretive about that letter, Bruce?
Because he's not worth my time.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I tell you what is worth your time, though. Go to YouTube, type in Friday Night in the Coliseum, 1972, Houston Wrestling. It's 14 minutes. And however, it's 34 minutes. Okay. But that that gives you the feeling of Houston. Watch the whole thing. It's only 34 minutes. And type in Friday Night in the Coliseum, 1972, Houston Wrestling, and watch the whole thing. And that'll tell you all you need to know about Houston and just the wrestling back then. And this was done in 1970. So I know most of you weren't born at that. This was the glory days of wrestling, Houston, goddamn discovering and having that passion for, by God, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I thought I was going to do it for the rest of my life in Houston, but it happened. You grow up. So yeah, there's that. We'll leave it on that.
Check it out. We've got it in the, we got some of those links in the description for today's episode, available now at somethingtowrestle.com. And we'll be back next Monday talking all things Mick Foley right here on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
Sometimes Jimmy Jam came along. Those were the best days. Now they're gone. Rock on!